Okay. Haven't used this program to record in a while, so won't have my beautiful face on it. I'm sure they're all going to be very depressed about that. Okay, here we go. So there are two kinds of hypotheses to consider when discussing a statistical hypothesis. There's the null hypothesis. Null, that's N-U-L-L. Like how all you guys are like, I'm not going to write it down until she writes it down. Maybe it's not a real thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was just like, I thought you were just like blaming something. I was like, okay.
It's funny, I look up, only Caitlin's like writing it down. Everybody else is like, no thank you. All right, so there's a null hypothesis. How's this? Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I'm writing in orange?
Yeah.
So there's a null hypothesis and its complement. Do you guys remember what a complement is in math? Nope.
Oh.
Did you? That's not even a compliment at all. Just being polite. Who says that?
It goes along where it's like 1/4 and then 3/4.
Right, it's the opposite, yeah. So it's the opposite probability. And that's exactly what this is. So we got the null hypothesis and its complement's called the alternative hypothesis. Either of these may be the claim. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of get some minutia out of the way. Like, do you remember when we started doing like z-scores and confidence intervals, and we were doing a lot of me being like, hey, turn to page A16, that z-score table in your book. Let's say that it was to the left of this number. What percent is that? What's, you know, like that kind of thing. And then later I was actually like, okay, here's a story problem where you would use that information. That's what it's going to kind of be today, where it's going to be just like a process, but not necessarily like, you're not, at the end of this, you're going to be feeling like, why are we doing this? Don't worry, 7.2 is coming tomorrow. We'll definitely use it. All right, so H sub O represents the null hypothesis, and H sub A represents the alternative hypothesis. That's supposed to be like a big H and an O, kind of like, you know, like down a little bit, like a sub. But I've had way too many kids in the past called it hose and ha's, which I hate, but, you know, I guess your call. All right, so mathematical inequalities. So you could have something where the H sub O is mu is greater than or equal to, I don't know, a number. The null hypothesis, I'm going to write it up here. The null hypothesis always has an equals to in it. So it either is an equals, it could be a greater than or equals to, or it could be a less than or equals to. And the alternative hypothesis has no equal sign. So it's just a less than, a greater than, or even a not equal to. Okay, so if the null hypothesis was mu is greater than or equal to a number, what's the alternative hypothesis to that? If you were saying, I think that my grade point average at the end of the semester is going to be at least a 3.0, what's the opposite of at least a 3.0? Well, no, because at most and at least both could be equal to, right? We want one not to be equal to. So at least is greater than or equal to. So what's the other one? 1? Are you saying like 1, a grade point average of 1 is not 3? Yeah, that's true. But we want like a whole range, right? So it could be anything that's less than 3. You see what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So we got one side that's greater than or equal to and the other side that's less than. Okay. I guess I should say over here, this means less than. I guess you could say fewer than, below. Any of those words are good keywords to look for. This is at least, greater than, or equal to. All right, now another option is mu is less than or equal to a number. Tanner called that at most just a few minutes ago. What's the opposite of less than or equal to? Greater than. Greater than, more than, above. All right, anybody have an idea what the last one could be? Equals and not equal to. Yeah, I know. It's, you would think, ooh, that has like a fancy name. It does not. It's literally not equal to. Sometimes they'll just say different. I guess exactly is another word they use sometimes. So basically, when people make hypotheses about stuff, they could say, I think that the grade point average I will get will be equal to 3.0. Or you could say, I think it's going to be greater than or equal to 3.0. Or you could say, I think it's less than 3.0. Or you could say, it's not going to be 3.0. It could be anything else. You know, like, these are kind of all the different options it could be. All right. So we got to figure out the null and alternative hypothesis and which one is the claim. So I'm going to help you with this. A university publicizes that the proportion of its students who graduate in 4 years is 82%. All right, so they're saying that the proportion, so I'm going to write P, is what compared to 82%? Should I write like a greater than, a less than, equal to, what should I write? Equal to, because it says, they're saying that it's equal to 0.82, right? Okay, what's the opposite of that? What'd you say? I still can't hear you. 0.18. I see what you're saying. But really in this case, it's just not equal to 0.82. So it could be 83%, it could be 84%, so that's the opposite. Okay, but I do understand what you're thinking, like P's and Q's, right? Okay, now I put H sub O by the first one, H sub A by the second one. Why did I do that? How did I know which one was H sub O? You don't know? It has an equal.